right. Well, I am the second child born. The first being my brother Sonny, everybody called him. My name's Gloria Jean, and I understood later that I was named after my uncle Gene Boy, but I really don't know if that's completely accurate because every Gloria that I meet, her middle name is Jean, and they couldn't have all had uncles named Eugene. So I'm not sure how that was, but I was second in six kids, and I was born in 1945.
I was born at General Hospital number 2, and I was born on August 10th in 1947. And I was the third born of my mother's and father's children to live. They had earlier children, but of those who survived infancy, I was number 3.
I am Queen Hill, Queen E. Hill. E is my middle name, for my middle name, Esther. And I am fifth of 6 siblings that lived. I understand my mom had, my parents had another sibling or two that didn't make it, so yeah. I was born in Kansas City, Missouri. Right. Oh, wow. I used to say that I was born at home, and it seems like someone corrected me. I remember the hospital at the time was, interestingly, called Queen of the World Hospital, and so that's one possibility for where I was born. I'm gonna have to check my birth certificate to make sure.
So, and then the other unusual thing is that we were each kind of spaced 2 years apart. I don't know how that happened. I was really good in high school with, they had typing courses when I went to East. So I was really good at typing, and it seems like when I got out, from the very beginning, I had typing jobs. Later, they call them administrative assistants because they added more to them. But I remember my first job was at Montgomery Ward's, and it was like production typist. So it was strictly a typing job, which they did at the time. So you had to do so many invoices or whatever they had. You had to do so many a day. And you just kind of got up and you put them in this particular file cabinet when you finished. So you had to do, it was definitely production typist. But I went there, I went on to City Hall and Federal Reserve Bank. So they were more like assistants or administrative assistants or secretarial type jobs because they had a lot of other things included. The longest place that I stayed has been Unity, and really I've only left Unity this past June, 2023, because they had a layoff. But when I got there, it felt like home. It's really a home type of environment. So I worked in HR. I was the first Black person to work in human resources at Unity. And I worked there for 11 years in human resources. Then there was another buyout. I took it, but I was so bored. And also, I always wanted to work in the prayer room. So they called me, and I went back to work. I worked another 12 years in the prayer room, and I just left there in June of 23.
A job at Hallmark Cards was my first job. They literally did not have Black girls in the secretarial pool. It was very racially stratified there. So I was working in just manufacturing. And then I did finally get a clerical job, and I worked for the city of Kansas City as a clerk stenographer. And it was during that time that I became very excited about going to college for the first time. I was 24 years old and couldn't wait to have my second child so I could go to college. And so I went to college and found out that I really did like school. So going to college, when I graduated, I held several jobs. I was a parole and probation officer for the state of Missouri for probably about 2 years. I was a benefit authorizer for Social Security Administration for a while. I worked as a research analyst at Western Missouri Mental Health Center. And then I went back and got some more schooling. And, I felt like here I am at this age of my life deciding what I want to be in life. But so eventually I went to KU and got my doctorate. And so my longest career has been that of, teaching at KU, where I was a professor of sociology for about 26 years.
I work in mental health. I am a psychologist. I went to school in Warrensburg. We called it the Burg. It is now University of Central Missouri, UCM. And I worked in mental health all my life. I got my license, psychology license in 1987. My job was at Truman Medical Center. Before that, the smaller organization that merged with Truman was called Network.
I was an extreme introvert. For some reason, I do not know why, and God has just brought me out of that a lot. But I remember that I felt like an introvert. However, there were so many kids to play with, and my cousin upstairs, Tina, that you always had people to be around. But when I look back, I think I was an introvert.
I was quiet. I was introverted. I immediately recall my younger sister being such a contrast to me, because I came along in school and just barely said anything. And there was many times that I wanted to say something, but I was just actually too shy to raise my hand and say something. My younger sister Loretta came along. She just chat. And I remember the teacher saying, "They are so different."
My earliest memories are, of course, of the neighborhood that I lived in. But of me personally, my earliest memories is that I was this kind of fat kid who was always walking around in panties or a diaper. And really, back then, it was considered acceptable to be out in your panties, even when I was much older than that, as long as you didn't have boobs yet. But anyway, and that's my earliest memory, is that, and people called me Big Mama. They called me Fat Stuff. I remember the man who lived across the street, Mr. Holiday, and his wife, they always had a candy cane for me. So Mom told me later that I was born maybe weighing 10 pounds or more, which was a really big baby back then. And she said, the doctor said, don't get attached to her because she's probably got sugar and she's not going to live. But so there.
That's funny, because I was just reading something about the mind hangs on to those little trauma kinds of experiences. And, why is it that we store those? Anyway, the first thing that popped to my mind was when I was in kindergarten and we were coming in from outside and we had our little rugs stored and, for us to come in and take a little nap. And we were coming in and a girl before me took my mat. And so I was very unhappy. I can't tell you how that was resolved, but anyway, that was the first memory that jumped into my head.